For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow Sorry, I lost my thing here right at the beginning. Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. Today, I'm joined by Relentless Bill Robinson. And how are you doing this morning, Bill?
Well, it's another day of left-wing craziness and, communist traitors running around our streets. There's only a few of them. But four big words, the most important big words are, thank God for Trump.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if nothing else became blatantly clear over the weekend, I mean, it's time to address the 800-pound Antifa, partially disabled militant in the room. The left's violence and mental illness is really just getting completely out of control. Something has to be done. It's time to put our feet down and stop this because, we had a Democrat assassinating multiple elected officials with a hit list over the weekend. They just rounded him up and caught him after fleeing on the run for a few days. Minnesota lawmaker assassin apprehended after multi-day manhunt. But it isn't just that. We saw leftist violence again on display at these No Kings rallies over the weekend. And people are really getting sick of it. We're tired of this. We're tired of them destroying our cities, trying to hold us hostage. Luckily they had low turnout at most of these events, even though the mainstream media is trying to lift them up. It's becoming obvious to everyone. They didn't get the crowds they wanted. But the message was clear, again, that they want to put illegal aliens over American citizens, over our safety, over our sovereignty. And I don't even know if they know why at this point.
Well, it's just getting so much fun. It's de rigueur. Every time something horrendous happens that's motivated by left-wing Democrat communist insanity, like this guy in Minnesota, the story comes out that he's a MAGA maniac and that he's a Republican and he's shooting Democrats. And then just watching the story disravel pretty quickly. It always unravels very quickly. And it's just kind of fun seeing the deviousness and the lies that are coming from the left. These are not our friends. They're not our neighbors. They're not our fellow Americans. These are people who need to be widely chastised and penalized. Many of them just need to be arrested. If you swing a brick or you swing your purse at a police officer, you should be put in jail and held there until we can get you a trial. But it's just they're letting people go when the military arrests somebody in LA or in one of these lunatic protests somewhere. The local Soros DA just lets them go, and so I'm a big proponent of federal charges for these people. That way, it's out of the hands of the local deviant DAs and back in the hands of real prosecutors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great first step because, unfortunately, in a lot of these areas, we've talked about it over and over again. If you're on the left, you get a slap on the wrist. Now, to go back to the main elephant in the room here again, this assassin, like you said, Brian Stelter was out there. Same with Tim Walz, sort of insinuating that this was more political violence from the right. Well, I mean, they were right about the politically motivated killings, but this guy had a hit list of 70 people. It sounds like most of them were Democrats. He had Ilhan Omar and many others from Minnesota on the list. Well, primarily people in Minnesota. And it seems that what people kind of suspect or have deduced right now is that he was motivated because these two Democrats joined Republicans to vote for a bill stripping illegal aliens of welfare and other Medicaid benefits within the state. There's several states that are kind of quietly doing this right now, blue states, because they don't have the money to pay for it. And unlike California, they're not willing to take out $40-some-odd billion in loans to continue paying for Medicaid for invaders. So many people suspect that's why he went after them. I saw Jen Psaki was trying to say, he was an anti-choice Democrat. That I'm not even quite sure what that means, but that was the other excuse they've been out there floating, again, trying to dismiss this. And like you said, they had that other interview with the roommate, which seemed to have been, at least to me, seems very scripted, where he was, of course, hits on InfoWars and other people on the right, and again, totally dismissive of the fact that this guy was a Tim Walz appointee to a board. His wife had interned for Tim Walz, and had also been appointed by Tim Walz to a board for a board or something else. I don't remember now. It's like this guy had close ties to the Walz family, close ties to Democrats in the state, and that's was initially being largely ignored while they tried to pin it on Republicans.
Well, not to get too much into conspiracy theory, but it strikes me as all these people are your typical, what we've all heard about, MK Ultra releasees upon society, right? And they don't want us to know. They go to work immediately before they're released with all kinds of automatic weapons on a school or on Democrat politicians or on whomever. They're scrubbed on the net. They try to set up a story. They make sure the manifesto of the boy being a girl or the girl being a boy in Nashville is hidden and completely out of view. When do we get to see that? So this is all false flag op style situations by the Democrats. And I don't know when we're gonna get to it. If you're listening to Tim Walz and you're listening to some of these other miscreants, then you're a pretty sad and pathetic person at this juncture. When do people get it? I guess there's going to be a small portion of society that will just never wake up to these shenanigans, these sinister deep state kind of activities. And so, from the SSRIs to big pharma to big psych to kids committing suicide, we're going to Democrats killing themselves and then blaming it on us. That's how desperate they are. They're killing Democrats. The only problem in the whole story is that both of these Democrats in the Minnesota House and Senate were voting consistently with Republicans. So they became expendable to the Democrat Party, just like Joe Lieberman or Elon Musk, or, it goes down through history, John F. Kennedy. It goes down through history where their tolerance of their own kind reaches an end and they decide that they have to die or be set up in some kind of huge, disgusting murder rap.
Yeah. Well, you bring up an interesting point, too. We want to talk MK Ultra and conspiracies. Was this guy tasked with sending a message that if you're an elected Democrat and you step out of line with the party, there's going to be permanent consequences? Again, these are the kind of questions we should be asking, considering, once again, as you alluded to, they are hiding his manifesto. They found the police car fake police car he was using to make these hits. He was dressed like a cop, wearing a rubber mask. It was originally reported that it was a Walter White from Breaking Bad mask, but I guess it was just a bald whatever mask, some kind of Halloween mask. But, why is it, once again, they're sitting on this manifesto? They don't want it to get out there. And I think it's because it's going to be full of more violent leftist rhetoric. We know the car was full of No Kings flyers, so he clearly had an agenda. He was clearly on a side. This isn't just a mentally ill person. This is a devout leftists there to promote their orthodoxy and destroy anyone that isn't going along with it.
Yeah, everything that comes out of Democrats' mouths is a psyop and a lie, and that's what they're trying to do. It just is never ending. They've been doing it for decades. It's just reaching a crescendo now, and what they're doing is training great American patriots to immediately go, they're lying. Look at that. And it's not even, if you look at Matthew Crooks, who tried to kill Trump at in Pennsylvania. I mean, they had to kill him because he wouldn't have withstood any even minor questioning. I'm waiting for the guy at Trump's golf course to have somebody go to work on him. I don't know if he's being held by the CIA or what, but if Bongino and Patel and Bondi have access to him, they should start applying the thumb screws. You've got to start questioning these people by professionals. And if a little torture is necessary for something like trying to assassinate the president, I'm all for it. I want them tortured by a professional.
Exactly. Bring on the waterboarding. There's another angle here to look at, too, is the wife of Minnesota shooting suspect detained with cash, weapons, passports as manhunt continues. This story was written before he was caught. He was caught early this morning in the woods near his house. But I want to know, was she involved? What did she know? Or was this her realized once they were looking for her husband, her freaking out, grabbing, a lot of these leftists are paranoid that they're going to be rounded up and put into concentration camps. Did they already have the passports and the money and whatever else, the weapons on standby because they thought they were going to get rounded up? Or was this, she knew she was going to get caught. She has involvement in this and was trying to flee to, I don't know where do you flee right now if you're an insane leftist? I guess you go to Canada.
I guess you have to. They were talking about that on a news show last night about, it's so much harder to get through the Mexican border than the Canadian border. And, I think if you just take a look at the wife, she's a total whack job. What is she doing married to that guy? I assume nobody else would marry her because of her insane politics. And so, this is a story that's been killed by the communist American media very quickly. I think except for Drudge. And isn't that an amazing slide into stupidity? Drudge Report is like anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-America First, anti-everything now. This shows just how far the media has slunk.
Yes. Yeah, the fact that that's where I think they thought if they took out Drudge, they could take out the right when they bought it out from him, but he was already going off the deep end anyway. This wasn't the only leftist trying to impersonate the police. Video, armed man seemingly impersonating law enforcement arrested during Pennsylvania No Kings protest. Now, I've heard conflicting things here. I read a few stories. I actually was not familiar with this till early this morning. When I was doing some research before the show, pulled this story, and some of the local news outlets are trying to paint him like just some wacko, whatever. But was there something else plotted here in PA? I mean, this is another state the Democrats are desperately trying to bring back into their column. It's been turning purple and red, really turning purple then red in the last election cycle. So is this guy another person that had targets and they just grabbed him before he was able to execute anyone?
Yeah, I think this guy was a false flag operator. And it's so good to see the police kind of slowly but surely coming back from their former, kind of lackadaisical attitude about these people. And so the more they fight them in LA, I think the more great Americans are feeling a new sense of confidence about our country. And it's going to take a little while. But this is the first salvo. This is these no kings, whatever nonsense. I mean, It's such unbelievable bullcrap. It's the first salvo. It's the first one of the summer. So they're just getting their back into their stride of starting these things. And what they really need is a George Floyd-like candidate.
Yeah.
And lots of pundits are talking about how the false flags are going to start coming and talking about how they're going to have the cops, start shooting people, not with rubber bullets, but so the whole left is threatening these things. It's totally unlike the Republican Party, the Judeo-Christian conservatives in this country to do those kinds of things. But I think President Trump is alert to this. He's been through J6. He knows what they try to do. So he's going to have the police officers just going, instead of, Rubber bullets and tear gas is fine. Give them all we can get of that. Just pummel them with rubber bullets all the time, because these kids need to get some welts before they understand what the realities in America are. But you've really got to just go for the ringleaders and pull them out, and then the whole little protest rally just collapses. These were very small rallies. 60 people arrested for storming the Capitol. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if they put them in prison with no outside communications for 4 years? Let's consider doing that. It's time for payback. I'm not into this thing of like, oh, you don't do what they did to you. No, we're going to start doing what they did to us.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Well, we're going to dive deep into these no kings nonsense here in a few minutes. But I really want to discuss what our country should have been more focused on over the weekend, this unifying parade that went on in D.C. for the military's the Army's 250th anniversary. Trump at Army's 250th anniversary parade. Whatever danger comes, the American soldier will be there. This should have been a unifying factor. Even MSNBC had to admit over the weekend, that this was a peaceful, patriotic march, that they were surprised at the number of people that attended, because even the corrupt park police had to admit that it was over 250,000 showed up there. And I don't think it was anywhere near that at any of these No King protests. Maybe if you count everybody across the entire country. But even then, I don't know if you would have got 250,000 people. Like where I drove around through Dayton and a few other areas at the rallies, we ended up having rain over the weekend. But there was nobody there, under 20 people. Annie drove through one in Mason in the morning, after... Well, we'll get into that in a minute, too. It was a lot of octogenarians attending these rallies. They were emptying out the old folks' homes for a field trip. But even then, it was under 200 people at 10 a.m. that were out there at whatever event she drove through, and I think it was Mason. I also talked to Andrew Moeller. Nobody was out down there. But what the country should have been focused on was honoring our military and unifying, but instead you have the media pushing this divisive narrative and pretending, somehow that Donald Trump is a king, despite being stopped by every judge from every district court in the country anytime he tries to do anything.
Well, let me address President Trump in this military parade. Wasn't that great? Yes. Oh, my gosh. I watched the whole thing all the way through. And the soldiers, the morale has just flipped 100% for our nation's soldiers. These are people risking our lives. They've been receiving the same treatment through 8 years of hell of Obama and 4 years of hell of Biden that they got coming back from the Vietnam War. And now... finally, we've got a commander-in-chief they can believe in and trust. They know Trump is not going to send them into harm's way without darn good reason and after first trying everything possible to achieve peace. So it was just amazing. The band on the side of the stage was amazing. They were just playing all kinds of, tunes from Trump's playlist. And it was... the estimate of 250,000, that's vastly understated. I know a lot of people who were there who, just saw many more people than that. And while they're doing that, they're overstating, the 60 people who rushed the Capitol from the No Kings. It's like, 25 people, but none of them were arrested. I don't think they were released and not held. So, but I mean, it was this is part of the feeling great again in America that Trump has brought. He said, make America great again. Now we're feeling great again. It's not perfect, but boy, is it better than Biden and Obama and Clinton. And let's go all the way back to Carter and Andrew Jackson. Let's go back to all these morons, these mouth-breathing imbeciles that the Democrat Party installs from time to time every few years when they steal elections. So I just love the whole America first. Let's take care of our military. That's one of the main things on the checklist of a true conservative is a strong military, small government, low taxes, strong military, absolve abortion. All these things are on a checklist that I've developed and lots of other people have their own checklists. But a strong military is so imperative in this day and age. And I just love the way Trump is going to build the Golden Dome. They're lying about it, saying, "Oh yeah, Golden Dome." They're doing the same thing they did against Reagan and SDI and Brilliant Pebbles, which of course did nothing less than bring down the wall and end the Soviet Union. So I really like what I'm seeing, and I don't like what I'm seeing in Tel Aviv. But every time missiles come into Tel Aviv from Iran, you're seeing most of them blowing up in the sky and a few land. So their Iron Dome over there is working, and I think we can build something here that's consistent with that kind of protection. Lastly, I just want to say that these people are, their little protests are making them less credible, making them less liked. And we're already on a road to the majority of America disliking Democrats, hating Democrats. What's going to be next? We're just going to have to start locking them up. If you're a Democrat, you're not part of this country. What happened to America? Love it or leave it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I don't think they got what they wanted to out of these No Kings riots and rallies throughout the country. Even optics wise, I don't think it worked out in their favor, and they know it largely. I think their leadership knows it. Guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsors. When we get back, I want to get to Trump's truth post regarding the No Kings riots.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jase case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jase case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jase.com now and get your own Jase case.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. And I really do want to strongly encourage you to go to jase.com or jasemedical.com and pick yourself up a Jase case. Again, it is a small investment in your family's future. And right now, especially as we're watching the leftist insanity continue to amp up and get more and more dangerous to all of us, things are heating up across the Middle East, obviously. There's huge concern with embedded sleeper cells here in America. This way you have the emergency medication that you and your family may need before you need it. Better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. And again, they have a variety of other products available on jase.com for specific medical conditions, or you can even call in there if you're on necessary medication, like something for blood pressure or insulin, that you can call in, speak to one of their experts, one of their physicians, and get a shelf-stable supply of whatever drugs you need, a 30-day, 90-day, or a 1-year supply, or any increment in between. But again, we have concerns right now about our drug supply from China, and with everything else going on in the world right now, you really do need to worry about protecting your family if something were to happen where help isn't coming. And Jase lets you do that. It's a small investment in security, and you can use code INSURRECTION for an additional discount. Just go to jase.com or jasemedical.com. Use code INSURRECTION. Protect yourself, protect your family, especially in an uncertain future. All right. I want to get to Trump's truth post here, because this is already making heads explode on the left. A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job. President Trump is the trolliest troll that ever trolled. This is absolutely brilliant on multiple levels, and it really has to take the wind out of their sails, too.
Trump perfection again. He's not perfect, but he's a damn sight better than any other president we've had, with the exception of George Washington. You know, I mean, that kind of I think he gets more supporters with that.
Oh,
That kind of tongue-in-cheek, beautiful use of sarcasm. I mean, obviously, nobody is thanking the No Kings idiots, most of whom, by the way, are either communists or Mexican anarchists. And the use of the flags is really something that's disturbing, but a lot's been said about that. But keep in mind that when you see Jamie Raskin with, a big Palestinian flag behind him, or you see Bernie and AOC laugh approvingly and lovingly at a big Palestinian flag being unfurled at one of their rallies over the American flag. Keep in mind these people don't love America. They shouldn't be here. And we're really going to have to start doing something about these people. It's not just disagreement. We cannot possibly disagree on what a great country we have. If we do, there's something very, very wrong.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that our media, again, is trying to largely ignore, since they can't point to the right for this, is all the violence we did see at these rallies around the country. And actually, let me just go ahead and pull a couple of these in rapid succession. At least 10 arrested during anti-ICE No Kings protests in New York City. We had this. Salt Lake City, No Kings protest murder suspect pushed Antifa views. And again, we saw the media locally and nationally after this occurred on Saturday try to say, oh, this was a right-winger that infiltrated and was shooting at protesters, when in reality, nothing could be further from the case. I guess somebody else said they saw somebody with a rifle, and they called their what are the Antifa peacemakers, essentially their armed security people that were there with them. But no, this guy was just another Antifa activist. We don't know exactly what led to the shooting yet. We're hearing conflicting stories there. But, this guy is just another mentally deranged moonbat, and I think that's probably the key underlying factor that led to it. We also had this. Journalists assaulted by violent anti-ICE agitators at Seattle No Kings riot. And I think this is actually at least 3 different journalists. Because this one in the video was a male blogger. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. But there was another gentleman that I believe was local news or local media that was also assaulted by them, that they either mistook him for somebody else or just mad that he was filming their violence. Because I think he was further down and filmed this other assault. And you had another female journalist that was attacked, hit in the head, and then they sprayed bug spray in her eyes. So, once again, this is par for the course. This is who these people are. They also had a failed scooter takeover at one of these events. I can't remember if that was... No, sorry, that was Friday. That wasn't Saturday. But, again, par for the course. We see this endless stream of violence from the left, but it gets dismissed and ignored by their allies in the dinosaur media. And instead, they try to spin it into somehow the right caused this, that it's our fault that they get violent.
Yeah, people with any kind of sanity know that this is all a psyop, a gigantic lie, false flags. And, really, I just can't wait until Bongino and Patel and Bondi pull their thumbs out and start really, doing what they can do. Granted, they've got a lot to do. But we have to get to the bottom of who tried to kill the president. That's paramount. And then we have to start arresting these people and putting them in jail and keeping them there. That photo that you had it's patently obvious. You look at that guy with the Mohican pompadour, and you can tell just by looking at him, this is not the kind of guy you want living next door to your daughter and her new baby. This is the kind of guy that needs to be locked up by sight alone. Just look at him. I don't care. Yeah. Hold him as a material witness. I don't care what. Lock him up and keep him in there. Once we start locking up the absolute degenerates at these mini protests, then they'll start to fizzle out because people don't want to be locked up. There needs to be some deterrence, just like there needs to be a death penalty for serial killers or people who kill police officers or people who murder pregnant women. There's all kinds of reasons why there's no deterrence right now. Most of them come from Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So we have to get back to the deterrence. You'll be held in jail. We don't know when we're going to get to your case. We'll hit all the benchmarks, 45 days, whatever it is, and then we'll just offer you pleas until you don't want to take them, and you're in jail for 4 years without a trial. That's what we want. Exactly what they did to Jake Lang. Exactly what they did to most of the J6ers. Just constantly offer ridiculous pleas and say, no, okay, then we're preparing for trial again, and the clock starts all over again. Let's start doing that to them, because there's nothing illegal about it. And in fact, that's what they've been doing to us for decades now. So we've really got to get rid of the double standard. And that starts not only with President Trump, who's committed to that. So his job is done on that. He's now assigned that task to Bongino, Patel, and Bondi, and they better get a move on.
Yeah, and we'll get more into this later, but they really need to track down who's funding this, whether it's Soros money or whoever else, and start prosecuting for them for providing material support to terrorists. Because that's exactly what this is. Make no mistake about it. These are to send a message to hold the country hostage, to use violence as a means to political ends, which is the literal definition of terrorism. Well, a lot of the crowds showing up at these No Kings rallies were not quite who the media would like to portray them as. Leftist Kings event in Arizona draws older crowd with patriotic symbols. At least they did get the memo, and not to bring Mexican flags. Instead, they had their fresh out of the plastic U.S. flags with the creases in them, flying them upside down. But I got a video I want to play for you guys real quick of exactly who was showing up at these events.
Okay. Here we come. All right, I got you. Got me? Yep, I got you.
Yeah. So, it's the elderly crowd. They were letting them out from their dementia care centers so they could, walk to these protests with their walkers and their hover-rounds, hold up their little signs and feel important for the day, revel in their youth of being violent protesters in the 60s. And again, masquerade. Actually, I got one other video I want to play, but go ahead. I want to get your feedback real quick while I set this up.
Yeah, so they already knew who these poor, demented, elderly people were, because they sent in teams to harass and just kind of force them to vote for Biden, and before him, Obama, et cetera, so forth. And so they already know who they are, these left-leaning elderly people. And I want to know who went in to the nursing homes and hung these signs around their necks, because I don't think they were going around to the front desk and picking them up and hanging them around their own necks. I think somebody went in there and was prepping them and saying, hey, you want a nice day out? Come on, we'll just hang the sign around your neck. These people probably didn't even really know what the protest was about. They just knew they were going to get a nice day out. And so I'd like to find the person who was going in there and arrest them for incitement to riot and putting these poor people in danger. I don't hold them so much responsible as I hold the massive monolithic infrastructure of lunatic America, Trump, and patriot haters. They can't be stopped. So pulling them out of nursing homes was easy for them, because they already knew who they were, having already gone in and grotesquely harassed them to vote for the candidate that they wanted them to vote for. So, which is always a Democrat.
Yeah, and when you can't control your own thoughts, much less your bladder, then you really are just being taken advantage of. But I wouldn't be surprised. I hadn't thought about this, but we saw these COVID nurses on TikTok doing their little dances for a couple years, and that's a lot of the people that staff these kind of things. So yeah, they probably were influencing who was there, dragging out the dementia ward, strapping signs to them, and then keeping them corralled with their hover rounds to try to bump up the numbers, since they knew that a lot of these events were going to be poorly attended. And I do think some of them are just aged out hippies trying to regain their relive their youth. They want to feel like they're out there protesting again and making a difference. But in reality, again, I don't think this helped them.
Well, you made an important point there, and that was the caretakers that they have there. I mean, not only have they been caught on video abusing and beating up their elderly disabled patients, so that's a real tip off, a real clue to who these people are, right? Republicans don't do that. Conservatives don't do that. Christians don't do that. Jews don't do that. But also, it's a cultural war inside the nursing homes. I've had the need to be in some nursing homes recently with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And they don't have, let me tell you something. The TV selection is very cultured and very modified to the left's agenda. So there's no Fox News. There's no, much less Newsmax or OAN or any other conservative news. It's all CNN and MSNBC all the time. And this is part of the psyop that is, I guess, started with the CIA in the mid-'60s with Operation Mockingbird. So, I mean, like everything that's going on has a basis in Democrat communists like Obama and Biden and Carter and Clinton, and also the CIA. So, you know, it never ceases to amaze. Like,
yeah, and it's so disgusting to do that to a essentially captive audience to try to push them your way. You know, and I'm going to play a video for you guys here in a second to show you exactly who these people are. You know, again, this is the country kitchen buffet crowd that gets there, you know, gets there early for breakfast. So here, let me just play this.
I'm just so scared. I'm 74 years old. I worry about everything, and I just am so scared and upset, and I don't understand why people voted for this person.
You know, again, exactly what I'd expect. Somebody that's misinformed, ill-informed, overly emotional, doesn't understand reality, and probably was drugged there against her will.
yeah, God will damn these people who are doing that. I mean, that was heartbreaking seeing this poor little old lady all worried about President Trump. You know, I mean, it's hilarious, but it's also heartbreaking. I don't know how they get these. I guess they take advantage of people's mental illness. When they spot somebody who's obviously mentally ill, like our aforementioned Pompadour Mohican character.
Yeah.
You know, when they spot these people, they lure them in because nobody else wants to engage with them. You know, if they're sleeping on the street, you would step over them. Whereas if you see somebody who looks halfway normal, you're a Republican's, a conservative, a Christian, a Jew's first thought is to extend a hand, maybe give them some money, take them and buy them a hamburger. No, the Democrat communists have a totally different idea of dealing with people who are mentally ill, fundamentally stupid and low IQ, or just plain evil. They want those people, so they magnetize them, bring them in, and infect them with their distorted, sick ideology. So to see that poor woman believing that President Trump is such a terrible person, I mean, it wouldn't even take 30 seconds with President Trump if he had her into the Oval Office until she was like, what have they been telling me? Why do they tell me such lies? You know, a la Kid Rock and Bill Maher. And so, you know, I mean, I've never heard of anybody who's met President Trump that didn't come away thinking, wow, he's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, I agree. You know, sorry, this just keeps reminding me of the Joker in The Dark Knight, that, you know, he attracts a particular type of person, you know, some people with mental illness. That's who the followers are. People that can't fit into society normally, people that really do need help because their brain just isn't there. It's not cutting it. I don't know if they need medication, they need therapy or what, but instead the left fuels their delusions and weaponizes these people. I mean, the left really is weaponized mental illness on display for all of us to see. Guys, we got to take one more quick break, hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, I want to strongly encourage you to support all our sponsors here at Ex America News. And you can do that by going to lutfstudios.com. Get yourself a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art from Annie Cyrus. And yes, she does take custom orders. You can contact her on the site, and she'll get an estimate back for the price and the completion time. I also want to encourage you to watch all her great programming she does here and produces for Ex America News. She co-hosts Mission for Freedom with Miss Shaw, and she can also catch her program, Live Up to Freedom, on twice a week over here as well. And she's been doing a lot of appearances with Brandon House and others right now, especially as this conflict between Israel and Iran continues to unfold. Let me go ahead. I want to get through a couple of these last stories here so we can get to Israel and Iran as well before we run out of time here. North Carolina state rep waves Trump's decapitated head, says no king's protest. Some cuts may be necessary. These people really do think they're clever. And again, you know, when we saw the guillotine rolled out at January 6th, they acted like that was a direct threat on their lives. But, you know, the left does this and there's little to no consequence.
Yeah, this miscreant lady is a state rep down in North Carolina where I am. So I know a little bit more than the average bear about North Carolina and these people that are coming here. It's the same thing that's happening in Texas and Florida. These people are coming here because they can't stand where they live, whether it's Illinois or LA or New York or Portland or wherever. They come here in search of a better life, and they immediately start destroying the potential for that better life. So this woman's a quisling. She's an infiltrator. How she got elected to the House in North Carolina, I don't know, but she needs to be removed. She's already apologized. Too late. Sorry, not sorry. You need to be removed from office immediately. And, you know, I mean, this last election, while President Trump won the presidency, and that was super important, in states like North Carolina, we lost the supermajority where we could veto Governor Roy Cooper. We could veto all of his insane bills that came through, and we did. And we could undo his vetoes of our great bills, and we did. Now, all of a sudden, after 2024, this state is completely dominated by communist Democrats, from Governor Josh Stein to Attorney General Jeff Jackson. They've removed the supermajorities in both the House and the North Carolina House and the Senate. So we need to start getting tough with these people. I don't know. You know, I got to say, in spite of all the insufferable evil that we deal with on your show and elsewhere in the media, Michael, we are winning. This can't happen overnight because of the way in which we did nothing. You know, it's like when good men do nothing, you know. So it's very you feel ambivalent, right? Because great things are happening and still it's not quite enough. So we have to really energize and bolster our America First MAGA platform and get these things through and make sure elections aren't stolen anymore, because they're still being stolen in spite of Trump's win. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what we're witnessing right now is the left panicking as their party and their constituency gradually dies off, literally and figuratively. But yeah, I want to go ahead and we're going to fly through this stuff so we can get to a few other stories. But Shanghai billionaire connected to Chinese communist and husband of Code Pink founder is behind recent anti-ICE raids. And Kristi Noem, let's see if I have this here. Secretary Noem is mobilizing the IRS to track down everyone funding these communist riots. Again, this is a great step in the right direction. Like I said earlier, I think we need to see if any Soros money was involved in this. Haul him in before Congress, force him to answer questions. And I think we need to find some charges that will stick for the people funding this violence that continues to occur in our streets. There's big dollars behind these direct attacks on ICE agents, federal operatives, and other people warning illegal aliens before ICE comes through. There's big money behind this, and we need to put a stop to it. We should be a nation living under the rule of law, not under the tyranny of leftist groups holding cities hostage with their riots. in their violence.
Yeah, Chinese tech billionaires with code pink wives or squeezes. That's all got to stop.
Yes.
Obviously, we have to get to crack down on the farmland in general, but the farmland with particular urgency around our military bases that the Chinese own. And, we've been infiltrated, people. Hello.
Yeah.
Let's get this done. Noam is absolutely right. And she's one of the few people that I trust in the whole cabinet.
Yes.
I'm really worried about what's going on in this country. Even though Trump is in charge, he does have a little history of surrounding himself with the wrong people. And so I am concerned about that. But
Yeah.
I got to say, like you said earlier in this conversation, this long-running conversation that we had this morning, we've really got to get down on following the money. Now, I just want to bring to your attention somebody that's very, very important. And you watch this lady from here forward. Please, everybody in the audience, go check her out on X. She's called the Data Republican.
Yes.
And the Data Republican came out just the other day with some stuff that I intend to write a story on in Newsmax about who's funding Indivisible, which is this new, obviously they get one of their creepy organizations gets known, they throw that shell away and they bring on a new one. Indivisible is their newest kind of Tides Foundation and Soros money laundering operation that supports the destruction of America. But she came out with this whole thing about USAID is funding these things. And more interestingly, we've talked a lot about the NGOs supporting the open borders and such. They've been supporting everything from abortion to open borders to child sex trafficking to snuff films to everything else. And she says she got the proof. She posted the documents.
Yep.
The American Red Cross and the United Way are funding these No Kings attempted riots.
Yeah.
So we've really got to, boy, you lose your tax exempt status like that for that. There's not, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. Some wrong people had control over us inside the United Way. No, I'm sorry. It's a shame because United Way is a really huge charity. But just like the Catholic Church, I mean, you start getting out of control and letting your people rape children or support a treasonous insurrection of the government, then they've got to be rooted out and their organizations have to be closed. I don't know what the American Red Cross is doing for our soldiers or doing for people in need in this country, but I don't think any amount of service that they're doing could be good enough to not shut them right down for what they're doing in terms of trying to stimulate riots and an uprising.
Yeah, and again, protect illegal aliens that are here. Well, the Democrats want their slaves. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass says if ICE raids persist, there will be nobody left to nanny the kids or mow the lawns or scrub the toilets or wipe their asses. They've made it very clear. Again, they're not concerned about really the welfare of the illegal aliens that have invaded our country. They're worried about how it's going to affect them. That there won't be anybody to pick their crops or continue to clean their houses for subpar wages. That's their real concern. The Democrats, like I keep saying, are just returning to their roots, and they're weaponizing mental illness to do so. Mental illness and terrorism, the roots of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, Karen Bass is a particularly annoying and interesting example of a Democrat communist. Just looking at her, right? She's a little wall-eyed. She's kind of like, oh, I'm black. Everything's about I'm black, and we got to protect the blacks. Well, I mean, look, I believe in protecting black Americans too. Yeah. But she doesn't own that issue. But you know what? The black Americans are really not the ones under attack right now. The ones that are under attack mostly by fourth wave feminists and by fake American Democrats are heterosexual older men. Yeah. And so those are the real people that need to be protected. But don't worry about me. I'm going to protect myself. I go around strapped everywhere I need to go.
That's right.
Karen Bass with those crazy glasses and that stupid glassy-eyed look of hers, which is a common feature of these people. It's kind of like they're on Haldol or something, or Thorazine. They're walking around like in a catatonic state almost. And it's very weird. It's just kind of creepy and weird. It's obvious we need to get to the bottom of this. And when, when will we just raise the Soros issue and just go right to deportation? Right. I don't care if he's a citizen. I don't care if he has a passport.
Yeah.
Strip him of the passport and deport him immediately. Send him over to Viktor Orban in Hungary. See what they think.
Yeah, exactly. They've still got warrants out for him. We did have some other good news out of California. So Hollywood icon Mel Gibson slams Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass over lawlessness and unrest in California following the wildfires. And I'm just going to go ahead and play this for you guys because this is really powerful and, again, being suppressed.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
Well said. And he's exactly on the money.
Wow, Mel, let's get him on here with us, Michael. We'd be a powerful trio. I'd love to hear what he has to say about all the kind of topics we cover every day, because I suspect we'd be in perfect alignment. And I'm sure he's got some interesting creative thinking that comes out of being with all those homo pedophiles out in Los Angeles. That's just a disgusting repository of rotting human flesh on legs there. It just won't stop. And so he'd have the insight. I'd also love to get kind of related 6 degrees of separation. Let's get Jim Caviezel along with us too.
Yeah.
He'd be great to have on. And so, yeah, you gotta respect Mel Gibson. They tried this thing with, he was drunk and drunk driving and everything. So what? Nobody cares. Everybody's had a few. They thought that was going to stick, and it stuck for like a year or two with Democrats, but they've forgotten about it. And now Mel's back. He's coming out with his what is it? The Passion of the Christ Resurrection. No, the Resurrection of the Christ. Yes. And so that'll be out in 2026, I think. And so, you go, Mel.
Yeah, and sorry, guys, I'm fixing my camera. Should be back up in a second. I bumped a wire. There we go. But yeah, and that is really what we need is more patriotic leaders in film. There's a great program. You guys have to go back in the archive on Ex American News to find it, that Andrew Mueller did just a few weeks ago on Hollywood used to operate under a code, like a moral code. They were part of their goal was to produce inspiring movies, films, stories that would be patriotic, moral, and would be for the betterment of American culture and our society. And somewhere they lost the plot, but it's really interesting to go see where Hollywood and everything used to be, that it was a tool to make things better, not worse. And now instead they tear us down the road to hell, and that's really all they've got. So this was another story that came on the heels of something else. So Trump to target Democrat cities with largest mass deportation program in history. And I hope this is true, because there was another story that came out last week that Trump said he was going to back off of enforcement actions at restaurants and things like that, Democrat businesses basically that are employing illegal aliens. Now, hopefully that's not true, because again, we've got to send a message that this is unacceptable. Even if it's just rounding up a few people here and there, we want the rest to self-deport. And if they see we're starting to go to the restaurants and construction sites and other businesses that employ illegal aliens, then some of them are going to be smart enough to take the $1,000 and the free plane tickets from the Trump administration and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, well, again, Democrats with their non-functioning or functionally illiterate brains have misunderstood the mandate that President Trump was elected with. It wasn't just to get rid of the criminals and the murderers and the gang members that are here illegally. No, that's the beginning. That's like the beginning of the beginning. That's not the end of the beginning. It's not the end of the end. It's the beginning of the beginning, and Trump is going to go after everybody that's here illegally. We don't want to hear a bunch of leftist wimps, a bunch of soy boys and pajama boys whining about, well, they're here, they're contributing to the economy, they're paying their taxes. No, they're not. The vast majority are here as sleeper cells, as infiltrators, and Trump had it right because, we all know that the Chinese Communist Party was sending soldiers here and equipping them with little fake families and making them look like they're simple emigres. And they're not. They're here to take us apart once the shooting starts. So Trump has to get those people to be sure. He has to focus on the big cities. That's the right thing for him to do because that's where they sent most of them to destroy the economies of the big cities first. And then he has to make it just nationwide and all the flyover states everywhere, because there are a lot of states that, unlike Texas and Florida, didn't have strong governors who were putting up barbed wire at their southern border or turning back flights to Martha's Vineyard or to DC or to Virginia, like they were doing in Texas and Florida. And so what about Kansas? What about Missouri? What about all these other places that have been commandeered by communists who really want our country destroyed? And that starts with the economy and the whole first responder network, hospitals, police, firemen, and finally the schools. And they're already well on their way to destroying our public schools.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our public schools are already totaled. They've already destroyed those. I mean, they really need to be burned down, and we got to start over from the ground up. I'm going to kind of fly through a couple of headlines here because we are out of time. Iran vows to continue nuclear activities. Trump calls for Iran to reach a deal before there's nothing left of their country. Iranian military states that Pakistan is prepared to nuke Israel. So this is a story just I saw hit this morning, and Pakistan is saying, if they use nuclear weapons on Iran, that they will strike Israel with their nuclear weapons. It isn't just that Pakistan's preparing a strike. How Israel built a secret drone army inside Iran that humiliated the mullahs and crippled their nuclear program. And this really is absolutely brilliant. This facility was in there and operating, building a lot of the drones they used to take down targets within Iran. And this went on right under their noses, and they had absolutely no idea. I'm not sure if this is more brilliant than the pager plot or not, but it's right up there with it.
Yeah, I love, God bless the IDF, Mossad, and Shin Bet. They are really one of the premier fighting forces and intelligence gathering organizations in the world, of course, underneath America. But I've got to say, I hope that they've clearly done a lot of damage to Iran's ability to function and respond militarily, although they've been taking a lot more missiles recently. I think what has to happen is now they need to start resorting to winning the hearts and minds of the Iranian people. So I hope that while they're bombing, they say they have air superiority over Iran, the Israelis. So now I hope they have some planes dropping leaflets and trying to undermine the authority of the mullahs, the towel heads, these ridiculous people, if you can call them that, who are constantly trying to spread terrorism around the world. I don't think anybody's going to be very unhappy. Like we were discussing earlier, Putin's making noises like he's not going to support Iran. Good, that's good news. So anyway, I pray for the Iranian people to rise up and crush these ridiculous fundamentalists who are just so insane and irrational. And I hope the same thing can happen in China.
Yes. Yeah, I think the divide and conquer of this new axis of evil is well underway. Putin sees what's going on. If he's not going to support Iran, they're doomed, because I don't think China will get in and do it on their own. And I'm just going to do 3 more of these rapid fire real quick, and then we'll wrap things up. Israel has destroyed 1/3 of Iran's missile launchers. I don't know why I posted that on there twice, but good job. Tehran starts drowning in sewage after Israeli missiles strike key water infrastructure. And I was going to grab this video, but it is absolutely disgusting, so I'm going to spare you guys from it. But there are also large lines out of the city as people are fleeing and evacuating as Israel's taking out key infrastructure for Tehran. And lastly, I want to dispel this because there are a bunch of stories saying, oh, we're going to join in. We're going to send people off to war. Well, Trump says he has no plans to take U.S. into war with Iran, that we are not going to get involved, that other than assisting Israel with some of the air defense, the U.S. and U.K. ran joint operations to help shoot down a bunch of these drones that came in from Iran. And obviously, we're supplying a lot of the weapons that go into Iron Dome. We're going to continue to sell them those. But, this is the way it should be. We don't want to get involved. We don't need boots on the ground. Israel is a big boy country. They're perfectly capable of defending themselves. And if they need to buy some bunker busters to get rid of this mullah over there, the Ayatollah, then you know what? Maybe we should sell them those bunker busters.
Well, just to handle these three in quick succession, because I know we don't have much time. Yeah, at least 1/3 of the missile launching capability has been taken out in Iran, and that's good news for the rest of the world. As in terms of the sewage, isn't that a wonderfully ironic metaphor for the leadership of these crappy countries? I mean, yeah, I want the Ayatollahs walking through sewage if they do any walking at all. I think they're carried around on those thrones with poles, like the ancient sultans. So in any event, I would love to see them just be walking through the streets and fall flat on their faces into the sewage. And then the last part, Trump has no intention of getting us into a war with Iran. Duh! Who's saying that he does? Insane leftist communist idiots in our country who always want to scaremonger and fearmonger our innocent citizens, like that little old lady who was crying in the video.
Oh, I know.
That's what they want. They want a compliant, scared, and crying population, and they're not going to get it.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for joining me here today, Bill. To our audience, thank you for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back tomorrow.